Thank you guys for coming out today. I know it's a beautiful day and it's a sacrifice to be inside, even though I know I want to be outside today too. But we got some great stuff planned for you. We're going to be doing some talk on baby food, how to make baby food, and then afterwards we'll do a little demonstration on yogurt and kefir. So here's Erica.
So my name is Erica Burry, and this is Madeline. She's about 9 months. She's my daughter, Todd, my husband. And what I want to talk to you guys today about is how I make food. This is really about how I feed my kid. This is the title, right? I am not your doctor. I'm not a pediatrician. I'm not a nutritionist. So what works for you might be different than what has worked for us. And I also, being a first-time mom, have come to the understanding that, you know, being a first-time mom is kind of like starting junior high all over again, because you don't know what the heck you're doing, and everybody has opinions about what you should be doing, and there's like a million ways that you can be shamed into doing something else, so that maybe you shouldn't be doing. So I'm just going to tell you what I do, and then you can decide how you take that into your own lives. One of the reasons, I'll see how I feel.
Yeah, point it back this way.
Click.
You're getting the light on me?
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, you okay.
Now try.
There we go. Okay. So the reasons that I decided to make my own baby food, I really like to cook. That's one of the hobbies that I have. I spend a lot of time cooking for our family. I cook lunches for myself every week, so it was something that was going to be fairly easy to integrate into what I was already doing. I also have a thing about knowing what's going into my body. That doesn't mean that I like eat really well all the time, but at least when I'm eating crap, I know the crap that's going in. So I'm really conscious about not eating a lot of sugar or processed foods. And other things, so that, if I'm paying that much attention to what I'm eating, I want to make sure that I'm paying that much attention to what my baby's eating. I was also really concerned about the impact of what Madeline is eating now on, her future health, in terms of obesity and diabetes runs in Todd's family, and heart issues run in my family. So, just kind of wanted to get her a really good start. I do try to avoid corn syrup. It's kind of like the devil in our household. And I'm crazy. I will tell you right now, this is not something to do if you are working 2 jobs and you have 3 kids. It is not. But I make the time, I have some extra time so I can do this. But I will tell you, I'm crazy for doing this. It does take time. But at the same time, I'm using less resources than if I was buying baby food. There's less waste, I'm not throwing packaging away. Any waste that we have gets composted, and then it ends up being less expensive. So you can make this as complicated or easy as you want. You can use what you already have. You can go out and buy the baby bullet if you want to, but you don't need the baby bullet. Those 74 pieces of equipment are completely unnecessary. You really ultimately just need a masher, okay? That will really take care of most of what you need. Or a blender. If you already have a blender will work. I have this I got from Anderson's. It's like and I've had it, I use it for all sorts of stuff. It's a 3-cup mini Cuisinart, and this is perfect for right now. In another month and a half, we might outstrip this. But right now, this makes just enough food, and it doesn't take up a lot of space in my kitchen. This is really good. A friend of ours gave this to us, and this has been really great for traveling. When we go on vacation, because I don't have access to this, and this is kind of annoying to carry around. So this works really well. It's easy to clean, and it's a food mill, and you can put anything in here. So even if, when we get into 10 and 11 months and she's eating meat, you can just throw all dinner in here and grind it up. So really easy, low tech, not very expensive thing to use. I also have this. We're going to talk about levels of crazy, and this is kind of level 6 of crazy. So But it's a coffee grinder, and I'll talk about why I have it in a minute. So pretty straightforward. The most useful tool on this slide is the microwave. You can cook everything in the microwave. If you have issues with killing bacteria in the microwave, I understand that. I picked the microwave over killing bacteria because it's faster. You can do this on your stove. It doesn't matter. It's the same process. Okay, so part one, food, what to buy and where to get it. Now, what you're going to buy it is going to depend on the age of your child because they can only digest certain things at certain stages of their lives. So you're going to want to talk to your pediatrician about that. And for, the big things to always start with are potatoes, sweet potatoes, and pears or bananas. Yes. Apricots. Okay, and those are actually sulfured apricots. I can't find unsulfured apricots, but she's at the point now where she can eat apricots, so we haven't fed those to her yet. That's actually part of dinner that night. I just got in the picture. So, but she, apricots are one of the dried apricots are one of the things that you can feed them. So, where to get your food? There are tons of options. If you go to the farmer's market every week, that's a great source for local produce. The grocery store, Kroger, has a great produce section. Pretty much anywhere you can get fruits and vegetables is a good place to get fruits and vegetables. If you are growing garden, if you have your own garden and you can grow your food, then that is a really great resource too. Just keep in mind you're adding a whole nother level of work for yourself because you have to grow it and then harvest it and then prep it. And so when you're pregnant or in your first 3 months of having a baby, there's not really time for that. But if you have a friend who has a garden who's willing to give you produce, and that works too. So if you really wanted to be super motivated, you could grow a garden specifically with feeding your baby in mind. We'll do a little bit more of that this summer in our garden. We do have one, but the timing of Madeline's birth, that just didn't work out. I registered, when I had my baby shower, I registered for a book specifically on recipes for how to make baby food. And this book has been really helpful, especially because it's organized by month. So it kind of says, all right, month 6 is when you can get started, and here's some of the foods that you can try and see if they work. And then in month 7 you can add these, and month 8 you can add these. And so it's a good guideline for, some of these, like it was baby banana Fosters. I was like, man, I want to eat that. But you just saute the bananas in butter and mash them. It's so tasty. But pretty straightforward recipes, not anything super complicated. I'm sure there's many, many other resources out there. This one was recommended to me, and I like it a lot. It's been super helpful. And it has, some list of equipment you'll need. It was a really good book to start with. I'm sure there's plenty of information on the internet, books at the library, but again, it's always a good idea to talk to your pediatrician before you start food just to get an idea. Madeline would not eat grains. They always say start with rice cereal, and Madeline would not, it had too much texture for her. So we actually tried that. That's what that first slide was, with it all over her face. So it was not a very successful venture. And so we went on and started with sweet potatoes, and she liked those a lot better. So preparation and storage, the mashing and grinding is pretty straightforward. You cook it down, you mash it up, but then what do you do with it? There's a couple different ways that I have found that are pretty easy and straightforward. Ice cube trays work really, really, really well. I have not used ice cube trays, but I will probably start just because of the sheer volume of food we have to make now for her. At 6 months they eat 1 tablespoon of food. At 9 months you're up to 3 tablespoons, and this is about a tablespoon here. And so, this was perfect for 6 months, and now we're up to 3 times of this. So it takes a little bit more effort. But These work out really well, actually. I got this just because I like the size. It is exactly a tablespoon. And I try to avoid plastic when I can, but again, this was super convenient, and I'll probably start using those because we have extra of those at home rather than buying another one of these. I'll keep using this, but I'll switch on to this. If you make a lot at once, which is not a bad idea, you can always freeze it in your freezer. I work full-time, so Madeline has to go to daycare, and so I have to send food to daycare with her. And when I was breastfeeding, I stored all of the breast milk in 4-ounce jars, just canning jars. And so since we're not breastfeeding anymore, we have moved these to food production. And they're really convenient. They're just enough for lunch for her. And they hold about 4 ounces of food. So I make these and stick them in the freezer and make enough for the week and then pull them out as I need them during the week. It's really convenient. And then I also freeze the food in these little cups and put them in Ziploc bags in the freezer again, and then I can just pull out a couple of discs and put them in a bowl and microwave them and serve them up.
Sorry.
Yeah.
That question for
Yeah, oh yeah, totally.
So you freeze it in a tray, but then you just like, how do you get them out to give them back?
I fill another cookie sheet up with water and then put this in the cookie sheet, and it thaws the bottom off enough, and then they pop out. I usually use a spoon or a knife to pop them out.
Okay.
The nice thing about, well, if I'd realized this, I would have probably used this sooner, is that you can do the same thing, but you just go like that and they pop right out rather than having to dig them out. That was kind of annoying. So yeah, that's how that works. And then I have a stock of apples or sweet potatoes or butternut squash or whatever in the freezer, and I can mix and match. Because one other thing that's really important to me is that Madeline gets a lot of diversity in her diet, which is kind of also the advantage of making your own food, is you can pick and choose what goes into it. And so having a lot of diversity and being able to make a lot of different stuff was important. So that's made that an option. Any questions at all before I go on any further? Okay. Am I forgetting anything, Todd? Okay.
I mean,
So just to,
it's probably good to point out that we have limited fridge space too.
oh yeah, we only have
We just have a regular
good.
freezer.
Yeah, we just have a regular freezer. If we had a freezer storage, I might spend a lot more time preparing food,
Spend one weekend a month instead of every Sunday.
right. And on top of that, like I could pull more stuff from the garden and freeze it
Right.
and put it and use it for prep for later.
Because like you get squashes and stuff, and you can get local, organically grown sweet potatoes, for example, in the fall
Right.
through the winter. You could store all that up.
Yeah.
And those are super. I can even make that stuff.
So that's another option for you. If you have a chest freezer and you have the time, you can go to the grocery store, go to the farmer's market, or pull stuff from your garden and prep it, and then just put it in the freezer and pull it out when you need it later in the season. We don't have that option, and that's okay. So last weekend I used 4 pears, 2 mangoes, a head of cauliflower, a sweet potato, 20 baby carrots, 2 bananas, and in 90 minutes I made 22 meals. Okay, and again, that's 3 tablespoons worth of food. Now, that again does not count grocery shopping, and I've done this a couple times now. So I know my routine, and I multitask. While the pears are being microwaved, I'm grinding up the carrots, and so there's a lot going on at the same time. But yeah, so and that doesn't count the 1/4 cup of barley meal that I cooked in with the carrots and the sweet potatoes. So something to think about. Okay. It doesn't take a lot of time, but it does take some time. What's that? We're gonna get there. Okay. So now we're gonna talk about food, the food itself. Does anybody have any questions about prep or storage, or you have got all that covered? You're okay? Any other questions in that department? Okay. So here's where you have a lot of choices. the choices that I made were insane, okay? So we're just remembering that I'm crazy, all right? I made the decision that I did not want Madeline to have any genetically modified food, and the reason for that was pesticides, okay? I am not opposed to genetically modified food, except where the purpose for that is to apply pesticides, okay? So we were trying to avoid those. And so we did all USDA certified organic, and that is because that is all that's available to me right now in the foods that she can eat, okay? If it was fall and I could go to the farmer's market and ask the farmer who I know grows his food is organically produced, which is different than certified organic, we'll get in that in a second, then I would have done that, but it wasn't the right time of year. Does everybody know the difference between organically produced and certified organic? Okay, so organically produced means you grew it in your garden and you didn't use any pesticides, okay? If you go to the farmer's market and ask them, they will tell you. You say, hey, did you use chemicals on your food? No, I did not, or yes, I did. They're all very honest about that. They have no problem telling you about that. And they get that question a lot, so it's not, you're not like being weird, okay? But the certification to be organic is a big process, and so a lot of local farmers who are small producers do not go through that process, okay? When you go to the grocery store, it has to be labeled certified organic for it to be organic. Natural does not mean a whole lot of anything, okay? So if you really want organic food from the grocery store, you need to find stuff that is USDA certified organic, okay? And like I was saying, at Kroger, I kind of did some price comparison. The fruits and the pears and apples were exactly conventionally grown means. Conventional means just, you know, whatever. You don't really know, it's just how it was grown, it's there. Okay, they may have used pesticides, they may have not, but they're certainly not certified organic. So the conventionally grown food was, at least for for pears and apples was exactly the same. Bananas were 10 cents more if they were organic. Sweet potatoes were 5 cents more. So there is a little bit additional cost in terms of going with organic foods. Again, if you're going to the farmer's market and you're getting food at the farmer's market, or you're growing it in your own garden, then it's actually significantly cheaper, because at the farmer's market in general, produce is less expensive because it's seasonally grown. It's not being shipped from anywhere, okay? So you're using even less resources if you can get your food from the farmer's market. You just have to make sure that they're not shipping it in too, because some of the producers at the market do that. So we decided, yes, we did not want her to have anything that had been sprayed with chemicals, and so, and we wanted to do it as cheaply as possible. So I made sure that all the fruits and vegetables that we bought were USDA certified organic. And I bought, rather than buying rice cereal, which I kind of saw as pointless in the beginning, because it really has no nutritional value. The reason for starting them on rice cereal is to get them used to texture, really. And since Madeline couldn't handle the rice cereal texture, sweet potatoes are smoother, so it worked out better. You can buy organic rice cereal and non-GMO rice cereal at the store. It's perfectly fine. I actually used it on vacation because it was way easier than taking this and this with me to Florida. But at home and in the morning, it's a lot easier than cooking this, cooking enough down. But you can cook volumes of rice and oatmeal and then store them in the fridge or freeze them for a period of time. You can keep them in the fridge for a week. So it's not impossible. But this was one of those things that I started out doing and then said, well, if we have time. Okay. But buying organic rice and grinding it in a spice grinder is super easy. And then you just cook it in water like you would oatmeal. You can do it with oatmeal, you can do it with barley. And we did all three just to give her kind of a combination of different flavors. You can't get barley in the grocery store if you wanted to feed your kids barley. You can get oatmeal and rice. So, and then that was, this book talks about grinding your own meal. So that was, again, crazy, right? That's the whole, like I said, level 6 of crazy, that's the level 6 of crazy. And like I said, that's kind of fallen off a little bit. We don't do that quite as much anymore. In terms of price comparison, 22 jars, $10, I don't even know the math. Like I said, I think it was way less than $10. So this is USDA organic food, Earth's Best Organic from Kroger. I got this for $1.50, and it is 3.5 ounces. And so I'm saving money, and it comes in a plastic package, right? So saving money and saving resources by using my jars and making my food at home, that was kind of the big deal for us. And I don't know, is there anything I'm missing on that, Todd? No. I mean, that's pretty much the message.
I just have a quick question.
Yeah.
With those jars,
Mm-hmm.
did it start out that you just have like one jar for the whole day, or like how many? Because you said 1 tablespoon.
Right.
So is that like, would you just, how did you use those?
That's a really good question. I don't know if you have a daughter or son. Daughter. Okay. Is she in childcare?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't take her to a daycare, but she has childcare.
Okay, so it really depends. Like when we first, Todd was home for the first 6 months. So he was taking care of a lot of the feeding care during that time. So we did more of this. This came in when I had to send her to daycare because I could, it was a little bit harder to send these, and they have freezer space so I could have done it, but this was way easier for daycare. And again, 1 to 2 tablespoons per meal. So you just measure it out and put it in the
How
jar.
many approximately tablespoons would you say are in there?
I don't know how many tablespoons are in an ounce. Is it 4 tablespoons per ounce? So that would be 16 tablespoons roughly in here. Yeah.
And then once it thaws, how long is it good for in the fridge?
That's a really good question. I don't know the answer to that. We'd usually try and feed it to her within 24 hours.
Okay.
But we don't you can make these with breast milk if you want, and then that, of course, reduces the amount of time you can store it. So if it's a day or 2, it's not that big of a deal unless you are putting formula and breast milk in them. But for us, if we try and feed it to her within a day. Yeah. But yeah, I think, it really it costs less, we don't produce any waste, and the big investment here that you're making is time. So if you have time, that's awesome. If you don't have time, that's okay. I mean, even if it just means you're microwaving a sweet potato and mashing up a banana and adding those in for one meal, then do what you can, okay? Again, I want to stress that I'm crazy. And we will probably reach a point where I cannot produce enough food for her. We're kind of moving into dairy right now. That's a little bit harder to get to daycare. And a friend of mine actually has, you can buy pouches like these at Babies R Us, I guess. They're a little bit bigger, and fill them with the food that you made, if that's what you want to do too. So lots and lots of options. And Pinterest and the internet are wonderful resources for those things. So, any questions? Yeah. Yeah, no, please.
I'm blowing.
No, you're fine.
Do you know about baby-led weaning? I only just heard about it last night. Somebody was talking about they basically give their kid a steamed broccoli. So
Yeah.
Nice and soft. So they hold onto the stalk.
Uh-huh.
And, sort of chew the leaves. And it sort of teaches them to chew and then swallow.
Yeah, so finger foods are really important in that. There's 2 elements to finger foods. It's the dexterity thing, and it's also the chewing and swallowing, right?
Okay.
So what I started with, we tried a couple different things, and this book has some recipes for sweet potato fries,
Okay.
because again, those are, and easy to make, and they can grab them and put them in their mouth.
Is it after they have teeth? Some teeth?
Yeah,
Some teeth?
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, she had teeth at 4 months.
She didn't have teeth.
Yeah.
That's why I was like, wait, what? So
Yeah.
they started at 6 months, sometimes whole pieces of food.
food. Yeah, and I had,
It's even a better time saver, like in concept, I was like, oh my gosh, because I'm not
Right.
making broccoli for myself. I
right, you just
her
give
one.
it to her. Yeah.
And I'm like, done.
Yes.
Like, I'm gonna do all of this.
And we had a friend that did that too. I was a little more cautious. She already had some food issues in terms of dairy and
Yeah.
so I was a little more cautious about making sure that I wasn't starting her on too much right at once. Brassicas are a little bit advanced stomach-wise for babies. But once you get into the grains, I bought some whole wheat pasta and like rotini little swirly ones and cooked those down and broke them up into little pieces and you know that's what we started using as finger foods. Peas, I tried peas, but she doesn't like peas, or she didn't, so that was a problem. And we just started on carrots and green beans, so I sliced the carrots really thin and cooked them up. And so yeah, now we're getting into the finger foods. Again, you know, a lot of people at this point start doing the dissolvable O's, and we could start giving her Cheerios, but she doesn't quite have the chops she hasn't quite figured out the Cheerio, like the chewing yet. So the pasta works really, really well. So whole wheat pasta, cook it down and that's really great finger food too. So, but that's a really good question. I mean, again, if your pediatrician is like, sure, whatever, then by all means.
And do you do most of your shopping at Kroger?
I do because it's the closest store. I also go to Anderson's, but since we're doing certified organic, Kroger has a really well labeled organic section. And at my Kroger, it's really easy to find. The other thing about this is access. And that's why I want to stress that anything you can do is better than nothing, right? Because a lot of people may not have access to organic food. The Kroger by my house has a huge organic section. Well, huge, I wouldn't say huge, but it has a fairly decent one. The Kroger 3 miles away from me does not have any organic produce section. So, you know, access can be a little spotty. I guess the Kroger, Todd was saying that the Kroger over on Holland, Sylvania
Ridiculous now.
and Dorr, or Bancroft, has a really, really awesome, you know, section of organic food. So, yeah, I mean, once we get into the season, I'll start buying stuff at the farmer's market again. Her eating just didn't really fit into that yet. So, but I do most of my shopping for her at Kroger.
How much did you give food versus milk?
That's a really good question. She's still taking the same amount of milk that she was before she started eating food.
Oh.
Yeah.
So they just eat more food than enough.
Yeah. Yes, they just eat more food. They don't get it. Yeah. Yeah.
For the first year, the majority of their actual nutrients are coming from milk because they still are having trouble, their bodies are getting used to digesting real food and getting nutrients out of it.
Right.
So, yeah. I mean, that's what someone told me, and I'm just going with it.
Yeah. Yeah, and they can't, I mean, milk, the formula is their main source of fluids too. And so they can't, I mean, you can't give them water. So, yeah. We did not, I was kind of surprised, but her milk intake has not changed.
Oh, man.
Yeah. You're like, yay! Any other questions? Okay. Yeah, it really, again, I think the biggest take-home message here is just that it just takes time. It doesn't cost more. It has a lot less waste, and you know, like I said, I usually am cooking my own lunch for the week, so it's just something that's already part of my routine. So it wasn't a big deal.